Where's my mom? Joshua cried quickly as he struggled to sit up, only to notice that the chair beside his bed, where his mom usually sits down, was now empty. The door opened and Dr. Yusuf entered quietly, his eyes clouded with sorrow. Your mom gave you her heart so you could live, he finally said, each word heavy with grief. Joshua frowned, first in confusion until a random guess dropped into his mind. He stared at Dr. Yusuf with a hopeful gaze, wishing that the doctor says that it is true and his mother was still alive. Dr. Yusuf noticed this gaze and sighed softly. She told us that if she don't make it, we should let you know that she doesn't regret anything and that she loves you. In a small city in River State lived a woman named Sarah. She was a nurse and worked in a big hospital in the city. Sarah was loved by everyone in the neighborhood because she was a caring woman. She doesn't like seeing people around her suffering, especially when she could be of help. Thus, whenever any family doesn't have money to buy foodstuffs or could not pay their rent, they will always look for Nurse Sarah for assistance, and she has never rejected anyone that met her. Sarah lost her husband a few years ago when he went to get foodstuffs for the family from the supermarket and never came back alive. Her son Joshua looked so much like his father. She loved him deeply, as though she channeled all the love she once had for her husband into him, loving him twice over. It was a good and bright morning, and Sarah was preparing her son for school. She placed a bowl of cereal in front of her 7-year-old son Joshua with a warm smile. If only she knew this day would be the beginning of her troubles. Come on, dear, eat up before it gets soggy, she said, ruffling his curly hair. Joshua didn't respond as he just sat quietly. Sarah's smile faltered slightly. He was usually chatty in the morning, rambling about school, superheroes, and the stray cats that sometimes slept on their porch. But today, he looked pale. Joshua, he asked gently. He finally moved, pushing the bowl away. I'm not hungry, Mama, he whispered. Then he rose up from his seat and tried to take a few steps, only to stop panting. Sarah's heart dropped. Josh, are you okay? She asked worriedly. I, I, I just feel tired, he said. Her fingers brushed his forehead. It wasn't hot, but something felt off. Off. His lips has a bluish color, and his breathing doesn't look normal. Everything looks so off. But she tried her best to look calm on the surface. Let's sit down, baby, she said softly, helping him back into the chair. I don't want to go to school today, he murmured. My heart it feels funny. That was heart lodged like a thorn in Sarah's mind. She glanced at the clock. It was 7:42 a.m. The clinic would open in under an hour. She gently cupped Joshua's face in her hands and looked into his tired eyes. We are not going to school today, okay? We are going to see the doctor. Joshua nodded weakly as she helped him into his sweater. Sarah's mind raced with questions she dared not speak. It could be a virus, maybe a flu. Kids got tired sometimes, right? But deep down, she knew this wasn't just a bad day. It was something else, something that she couldn't understand. Outside, the sky was clear. A good day by any measure, but for Sarah, it felt like the start of a storm. As she buckled Joshua into the car, she stole one last glance at him in the rearview mirror. His eyes were closed, lips slightly parted, with chest rising and falling with quiet effort. She didn't know what the doctor would say, but she knew one thing for certain. She won't leave that clinic without getting answers. Case looked serious, but no matter what it took, she would fight for her son's heartbeat to continue. The room was too quiet and feels heavy with bad news. Sarah sat on the cold leather chair, her hands clenched around the edge of Joshua's navy blue sweater. They have done all the tests that's required and await the result, but it seems like things are far worse than she thought. Sarah, Dr. Yusuf began gently. Joshua's condition has progressed faster than we anticipated. The tests confirm it. He's in advanced heart failure. Sarah blinked once as the words landed like a hammer on her chest. She opened her mouth to speak, but no sound came out. His heart is no longer strong enough to sustain him. We've exhausted all non-surgical options. Medications might prolong things slightly, but it won't fix what's broken. He paused. The only viable solution now is a transplant. A transplant? Sarah's voice cracked. He nodded. Yes. And we searched the National Donor Registry for a match, and there is only one. Who? Sarah asked with a hopeful gaze. You, Dr. Yusuf replied. The words struck her like thunder. Huh? She froze, her breath catching in her throat. Me? She whispered. You. Yes, you and Joshua share an extraordinarily rare genetic marker. A match like this almost never happens, not even between parents and children. It's a miracle, really, he explained. Sarah's heart pounded. If I donate, um, will I, will I survive? No, Dr. Yusuf replied. The transplant requires a full cardiac transfer. You won't survive the procedure. Sarah felt the world crashing down on her. She hasn't yet moved on from her husband's death. She never will. She has only her son left in this world. She can't lose him too. Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. Instead, she raised her head and met Dr. Yusuf's gaze, her voice firm and steady. He's my son, she said. If my heart can save him, then it was never mine to keep. Dr. Yusuf's breath caught. He had seen courage before, but never like this. Sarah reached for a pulse, her shoulders no longer trembling. Tell me what I need to do. The chapel was empty. Sarah sat alone in the front bench as she cried loudly. It was past midnight. She whispered into the stillness, her voice cracking with every syllable. God, God, please, take everything now. You can take my house, take my job, take my strength, but please not my son. Please, not him. She pressed her palms together tighter. He's just a child, she continued. He hasn't lived yet. He hasn't seen the world or learned what it means to grow old. I would trade places with him without blinking. Oh God, please. Her voice broke as she bowed her head, hot tears sliding down her cheeks and hitting the wooden bench. Sarah had always believed in something greater, not blindly, nor without questions, but with the quiet certainty that someone out there was listening, that when life fell apart, prayer was a thread that held things together. But tonight, the thread felt thin, too thin. She pulled a photo from her coat pocket and stared at it. Joshua grinning wide, a missing tooth in the middle, arms wrapped around a toy lion he would name Mr. Brave that had been taken last summer, back when his heart still worked. You gave him to me, she whispered. You let me hold him. You let me love him. And now you want me to give him back? Sarah sat there though. Her tears had dried, but her resolve had not. There would be no miracle, but there would be a choice. And as Sarah stood, her spine straighter, her breath steady, she knew what she had to do. If her heart was the only way Joshua would live, then she would give it. Not because she would stop praying, but because she would be the answer to her prayers. It's been 2 weeks since Joshua got admitted into the hospital, and his condition has been growing worse each passing day. Sarah sat in the chair by Joshua's hospital bed. Her fingers were locked into his. He was too thin, almost like a dead man. "Mom," he whispered, his voice trembling. "Do you think I will survive?" he asked. Sarah froze. She never expected a question like this because she also doesn't know the answer. Her throat tightened, and her first instinct was to lie, to cover the truth with sweet reassurances. But she could see it in his eyes. He wasn't asking for a lie, he was asking for the truth she had buried so deeply it hurt to even remember. He wanted the kind of truth that could shatter a heart, not soothe it. But she can't give him that. She won't, because some truths don't set you free, they break you. She rose wordlessly and climbed into the narrow hospital bed beside him, cradling his frail body like she had when he was a baby. He held him tighter now, her voice low, steady, and unwavering. "Yes, you will. Nothing will happen to you, not while I breathe." She didn't know whether she believed what she just said or not, but she didn't want her son to lose hope. He was her only hope, her source of light and happiness in this dark world. He has to live. Sarah sat beside Joshua, their fingers gently entwined. Joshua murmured, "Mom, tell me a story." Sarah smiled and leaned in closer. "All right, but just a short one. You will need your rest." She adjusted her position and began in a hushed voice. "There once was a mother bird," she said, "who built her nest high on a mountain ledge. She loved her little chick more than anything in the world. She taught him how to hunt, to chirp, and how to hop. But when it came time for him to fly, he was afraid. His wings were small, and the cliff below looked far too deep." Joshua's lips curled into the faintest smile. "What happened?" Sarah's voice softened, carrying the warmth of a lullaby. "The chick cried and said, 'I'll fall, Mama. I can't do it.' So the mother bird did something no bird had ever done. She gave him her wings. She plucked every feather from her own body and stitched them, one by one, onto his." "But what about her?" Joshua asked slowly, his eyes locked onto hers. "She couldn't fly anymore," Sarah said quietly. "But she didn't regret it because she knew that love, real love, means giving everything so the one you love can rise." Joshua was silent for a moment. Then he asked, "Did the baby bird fly?" Sarah nodded, her voice thick with emotions. "Yes, higher than any bird before him." Joshua gave a soft hum of satisfaction. "That bird's mom, she was brave." Sarah leaned down and kissed his forehead gently. "That bird," she whispered, "loved more than she feared." Joshua smiled as he drifted into slumber, safe within the nest of her arms. Sarah sat still, tears gathering in her eyes, not from fear, but from love so fierce it could give wings to the hopeless. Because that was what she would become, not just a mother, but the wind beneath her son's fragile flight. And she would keep him soaring, no matter the cost. The day for the surgery has reached, but Sarah didn't know what she was feeling. Was it happiness? Because her son can finally be treated and be able to live the life he deserves. Or sadness that she won't be there with him. "Mom," Joshua had whispered minutes earlier, "I'm scared. Do you think it will work? What if something goes wrong?" "It has to work," she had said without hesitation. "Nothing will go wrong. I promise." They had both known it was a lie she couldn't guarantee. But Joshua needed certainty more than truth, and she needed him to believe it. Now, as the nurses guided her stretcher to a stop, Sarah craned her neck, trying to capture his face, the face of her boy, who she would never see grow up. She felt sad that things had to come down to this, but she doesn't regret anything. Her son is her only hope, her light. He must live. Joshua's eyelids fluttered as the unfamiliar weight of silence pressed on him. His throat was dry, his chest sore, but it was beating stronger than before. He could feel it, like a drum newly tuned. Joshua's eyelids fluttered as the unfamiliar weight of silence pressed on him. His throat was dry, His chest sore, but it was beating stronger than before. He could feel it, like a drum newly tuned, steady and unrelenting. He reached out instinctively toward the chair by his side that had always been filled, but it was empty. Mom? His voice was barely a whisper. Mom? The door creaked open. Dr. Yusuf stepped in, his face drawn, shoulder heavy with something far greater than exhaustion. He stepped forward slowly and sank down to one knee at Joshua's bedside. Joshua turned his head, eyes wide. Is she okay? His voice cracked. Dr. Yusuf looked at him then, his lips trembling slightly before he finally spoke. She gave you her heart. Joshua blinked confused. What do you mean? Dr. Yusuf took a deep breath. Your mom, she was a match, a rare one. When the test came back, he didn't hesitate. She told us she would do whatever it took. His voice wavered. During the surgery, there were complications. Her heart was strong, but her body was tired. She knew the risks. Joshua's breath caught. His heart pounded. She knew? She knew. The doctor nodded in melancholy. She told us that if she didn't make it, you should know that she doesn't regret anything and that she loves you more than anything. Silence fell again, this time heavy and secret. Joshua turned his face to the window, trying to accept the reality that his mom was no more. He was now alone. A tear slid down his temple, warm against the cold. She used to say her heart belongs to me, he whispered. And now, Dr. Yusuf said softly, it truly does. Joshua closed his eyes, trying to immerse himself in the rhythm of that heart. Her heart. She had given him life twice, once when he was born, and now again. Days later, a chair by his bed was filled again, this time by flowers, letters, and quiet comfort of nurses who knew the story. And Joshua, pale but sitting up, would often press his hand to his chest and whispered, Thank you, Mom. He would leave not just because of her, but for her. The weather looked bright and beautiful, too beautiful for a moody day like this. The old soccer field, where Sarah had once shared free food to the hungry and hosted free health checks, was now transformed into a place of remembrance. At the center of it all stood a small wooden stool covered in white lace. On it, framed in soft gold, was a smiling photo of Sarah, eyes bright with arms wrapped around a younger Joshua. Joshua sat nearby in a wheelchair. His face remained unreadable, so no one could figure out what was going on in his mind. The crowd's murmur washed over him. Gentle condolences, fond memories, and hushed prayers. But he didn't speak. He just stared at the photograph, as if really need to blink, to move, or to breathe. Dr. Yusuf stood a few paces away, dressed in his usual white beneath a black jacket. He stepped forward and cleared his throat. We are here tonight, he began, to honor a woman who lived in fierce love and fearless compassion. Sarah wasn't just a nurse. She wasn't just a mother. She was a lighthouse, steady, bright, and unwavering in the storm. Dr. Yusuf continued. She gave her life to save another, and not just anyone, her son, her everything. A silence fell like mist over the field. Joshua finally stirred, his fingers uncurled from the wheelchair arms. He glanced at Dr. Yusuf, then back at the photo. Slowly, he rolled forward. When he reached the stool, he pulled something from his sweater pocket, a small folded note, and tucked it gently beside the frame. She once told me, he said, that if I ever felt lost, I should look up. He raised his gaze to the sky. So, tonight, I want to send her something back. So one by one, people lifted their arms. Balloons, each one tied with a message, floated upward. Slowly at first, then with increasing speed, they rose into the twilight like pale stars ascending towards the real ones. Joshua watched them go, eyes shimmering. He whispered, Thank you, Mom, for giving me a second life. I will make sure to never stop loving." As the last balloon vanished into the sky, the crowd stood in reverent stillness. In the quiet, one could almost hear Sarah's laughter in the wind, soft and reassuring. And beneath the sky, a boy began to heal, guided not by footsteps behind him, but by the heartbeats within.